It's a sad reflection of modern society that we judge a student's worth solely based on the grades and percentages he or she has obtained in schools. Scholastic achievement seems like the be all and end all of all human endeavor. We have several evidences that prediction about future success in labor market has little to do with the scores and grades in the school. Equally is true that many successful entrepreneurs had no formal education at all. Important life milestones are determined to a large extent by the grit, perseverance, resilience, conscientiousness, self-efficacy, and openness to new ideas and experiences. None of these are determined by the academic grades and scores. These skills reside within ourselves like a sleeping ghost in the body and need to be brought to surface and fruition by a natural and thoughtful parenting. Why did I use the term parenting and not some management jargon like interventions, etc.? In the 80s, when the Japanese management system was being widely discussed in India, I happened to interact with a very senior executive in an international convention in Singapore on quality circles. I asked him a question which went like this. In India, we always find relationship issues between a boss and his reportee, his junior, his subordinate. But I hear that in Japan, one subordinate can report not only to one boss, but even to two or more bosses without any issues, without any problems. How do you manage this? The expert from Japan took a deep breath and told me that a child is born of two, the father and the mother. The child has no issues about whom to report for what. Though the father may have the formal authority, the child will often go to the mother for its needs. Both the father and the mother do not have any job description. Neither the child is being formally inducted into any training. Yet, the child, through the role modeling of its parents, acquires a sense of purpose, passion for pursuing excellence, and confidence in itself. And that helps the child to develop its wholesome personality. For a moment, just think of an experiment. In your house, the Amazon delivery man delivers a box nicely gift wrapped. Your child is very curious about its contents. You tell the child that the box contains a surprise. The child can open it as and when it wants. But if it can wait till few hours without opening, he will be getting another surprise. The child will perform one of the two actions. Either it will immediately tear down the wrapper and open the box, or it can, as suggested by the father, wait for a few hours. Now, what could we infer about the behavior of the child from this example? The willingness to postpone the gratification is an important non-cognitive skill that lasts for the lifetime and is one of the very powerful indicators of our personality and behavior. While there has been much focus and research on cognitive skills, the importance of non-cognitive skills in shaping our behavior has not yet been fully realized. In fact, our vocational and academic system is heavily biased towards developing the cognitive skills. Please ask any employer what kind of trainee or apprentice he would like to have. The choice is between, say, a technically sound and intelligent trainee, but who is also impulsive, a bit of an introvert, given to shortcuts, and the other one who is technically not very sound or very sharp, but who has displayed character and integrity, is a team player and has exhibited willingness to learn, probably he will pick the second in turn. In fact, the relationship between the grades in the vocational course and the labor market success is inverse. Most of the non-cognitive skills have genetic origin, but these are constantly shaped by family, teachers, and peers. As the years pass, cognitive skills remain stable, while non-cognitive skills get changed depending on the environment and experience. Integrity of character is a non-cognitive skill, but it can change depending on the situation and context. Skill development is a dynamic process. Boosting non-cognitive skills early in life increases the benefits of education later in life. More persistent students learn more. The levels of cognitive and non-cognitive skills at any age depend in part on levels of those skills at younger ages, which depend on earlier investments. Indian vocational training mostly aims at boys and girls from very disadvantaged background. Parents are mostly semi-literate and economically depressed. This often results in lack of quality in parenting, adversely affecting the development of non-cognitive skills. This is a very compelling reason for the education planners to develop contents that focuses on non-cognitive skills. Human development is a dynamic process that starts in the womb of the mother. Environments and skills interact to foster the development of later life skills and create who we are and what we become. The foundations for adult success are laid down much early in life. Many children raised in disadvantaged environments start behind and stay behind. Poverty has a lasting effect on brain development, the health, and cognitive and non-cognitive skills. Gaps in skills emerge early before formal schooling begins. Waiting until kindergarten to address these gaps is a very poor strategy. It creates achievement gaps for disadvantaged children that are costly to close. It is in this context we feel that skill deficits due to the inadequate parentage should be supplemented by more emphasis on sharpening the non-cognitive skills. We at EcoDev have been focusing our work on actors in the agriculture domain, more particularly on the smallholder farmers and their support system contributors and players. We focus on identifying entrepreneurship among them by using psychometric profiling. In all our findings, we have observed the critical role played by the non-cognitive factors in determining the entrepreneurship. While examining entrepreneurship, we have noted a kind of cross-fertilization of these traits, resulting in a kind of constellation. Let me explain what I mean by this. Let me elaborate on the constellation of a major non-cognitive skill, say conscientiousness. It implies an orderly lifestyle, abiding by few governing principles, being truthful, having integrity. This major planet has several subplanets forming its constellation, such as self-discipline, punctuality, orderliness, analytical thinking, ability to delay gratification, grit, perseverance, work ethic, so on. Another non-cognitive skill is extraversion. This includes many subtraits under its constellation like seamless networking, friendliness, assertiveness, social dominance and prominence, adventurous, and so on. most of the non-cognitive skills are experiential in nature and cannot be directly measured like cognitive skills. These are like the ghost in the machine. To experience them, we need to have indirect measurements and tools. These are experienced through psychometric profiling. Let me elaborate on this. Take the case of an entrepreneur. We can examine his balance sheet, look at his product portfolios, study his borrowing pattern. But how do we see his grit or passion or empathy? These are to be determined through indirect measurements. Grit will manifest via his tenacity. Passion will manifest itself via his pursuance of goals. Empathy will get manifested via how long his employees have been sticking with him, and so on. To conclude, let me say that quite often we fall into the trap of judging the worth of a person solely on the basis of the grades and scholastic achievements. A student who gets 100% or 99% is a genius, and a student who gets 45% is a good for nothing dud. No doubt, these are parameters, maybe important parameters, but more critical determinants of success in life are the nurturing and nourishment of non-cognitive skills. A soldier gives up his life not because he was a gold medalist or a topper in a school exam, but he has ample grit and self-confidence and passion for his country. Understanding the ghost in the machine and nurturing him to become a superman is the name of the game. Thank you.